extremely rare to find a cross-functional leader who has excelled at two functionalities. He has worked with ACCA Institute and Hock International notably. Today we have with us.
My brother was pursuing chartered accountancy. I was good student. However, seeing him study all throughout day, night, I used to go to bed, I saw him studying. I used to wake up, I saw him studying. The effort and the vigor that is required to pursue these international qualification got a fear in me that, probably it's not for me. The thought was that how would I make the industry change? And there are a lot of these opinions that once you start in an industry, you cannot switch. It is very difficult because
You started off with multiple firms in manufacturing setup and overall.
Yeah.
So how you got into it?
Even though I'm coming from a sales background, a financial acumen is important for each and every profile, be it an HR or an IT or so on and so forth. In these qualifications, they test you on the ability to provide solution and not memorize. That's the major difference.
The number of candidates I've observed who are doing exceptionally well, one pattern I've seen very closely is that they have expertise in at least two skill sets.
So there are a lot of dynamics at play. It's just not that if you're good at studies, you'll clear the exam. No. I personally feel US CMA is a temperament examination.
Brian has amazing understanding of Indian market. What is his perspective on CMA versus your perspective on CMA?
He highlighted, and what I could understand is that in the US,
Addressing all CMA aspirants for pursuing this program, any word of advice? Hi. So this episode is an interesting one. Usually whenever I've observed an industry, I see that people tend to become SMEs, subject matter expert. So if someone has opted for finance as a field, they will pursue certifications and they'll reach to a point where they have some level of expertise in it. Let's say people take up sales and marketing as a rule. They build their expertise over there and get to a point where they make something out of it. But it is extremely rare to find a cross-functional leader who has excelled at two functionalities. Today we have with us Ronak from Hock International, who is a certified CMA but has worked on business end of things when it comes to the world of certifications. He has worked with ACCA Institute and Hock International notably, but we'll dive more into his insights regarding the industry, regarding the business side of things and more. Starting with his introduction. Hi Ronak, welcome to our podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Aditya and FinStreet, for having me today.
Yes.
I have been close to about 17 years of experience and multifaceted industries. I've been through manufacturing, then IT, then professional body ACCA, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I was with them for 7 years. And after that, I got the opportunity to work in finance because of US CMA. I worked with entity data. And then very recently, I got the opportunity to work with none other than Mr. Brian Hock, which I really wanted to while I was pursuing CMA.
Okay.
I used Hock material to study as well. So eventually, finally getting the chance to work with him, that was a dream come true. And close to a year now I have been with Hock. And I manage the business relations pan-India. Yeah.
Amazing. By the way, today morning we were discussing, I met Sri, who is from, Ronak's team, and Ronak, and we were discussing experience side of things. At any point in time, we never could guess that he had 17 years of experience. One of the young and dynamic faces of Hock International in India. So in terms of your fitness and overall, really admire it.
Thank you, Aditya.
Coming to main part of our overall podcast now, I want to start with your personal and professional journey, where you decided that, okay, I want to go ahead with finance as a field and want to opt for certifications. So was it always a plan that you will build your career in finance? What was your ideology behind it?
Okay. So that's a very interesting question. I come from a joint family, Marwari joint family from Kolkata.
Okay.
So I had a big family and my brother was pursuing chartered accountancy. I was good student. My scores were good. However, seeing him study all throughout day, night, I used to go to bed, I saw him studying. I used to wake up, I saw him studying. So I used to ask him that, brother, when do you sleep? The effort and the vigor that is required to pursue these international qualification. And even after that, I saw him take multiple attempts to clear. So and he was like 8 years elder to me. So I used to look up to him and he was a brilliant student. So I saw him struggling, that got a fear in me that, probably it's not for me. If he's struggling, I can't do it. Even though I had that knack and interest in finance, I somehow thought that probably I won't be able to do it. And I moved into business development and marketing role. But deep down inside, I always thought that I would have done better. But because my career started, the thought was that how would I make the industry change? And there are a lot of these opinions that once you start in an industry, you cannot switch. It is very difficult because as you grow, the salary increases, the position increases. So when you change industry, you have to again start with as a fresher, so on and so forth. A lot of challenges were there. But I was hell bent, and a lot of things happened, self-talk, and I also seeked out help from mentors. And with their guidance, I changed my industry to finance after like 12 years in sales and business development. And that was again an enriching experience for me. I got the opportunity to work with entity data and FP&A profile. And my first job in finance was as an associate director in finance. And it came with a lot of responsibility. And all thanks to US CMA. And I thank my stars that I decided on this qualification, and it became a game changer for me and my career growth.
Okay, that's interesting. But going back to the point where you mentioned that you come in from a Marwadi family,
Yeah.
wasn't there push for starting a business instead of getting into a job?
So we already had a business running, but then for it to grow, they said that why don't you work for some time and not in the company, because if you work in your own company, then you don't learn much, because the staff, everybody don't see you as like a co-worker, but you are the owner's child or something like that.
Yes.
So my father and my uncle said that why don't you guys work for 2-3 years, get that experience, and then come and join back. But once we started working, we were doing really well. And then we decided that probably we'll wrap up that business, and we were the first generation to get into job.
Oh.
But probably in the future down the line, may have get back to the roots and do something on my own, but that probably would be in the future.
Awesome. So understanding your career journey, you started off with multiple firms in manufacturing setup and overall.
Yeah.
So how you got into it? How was your experience? And did that led to you pushing yourself into CMA certification?
So from that, as I was growing, I wanted to move into ACCA, and it was an MNC. So here, what happened was I felt that after a certain years, the career got stagnant. Even though I had like my BCom and my MBA done, but they were not from the top institutes, right? So I felt that the weight was not very heavy on my resume. Then after a lot of discussion with mentors, seeking help, and it's always good to reach out when you are stuck to mentors and experts.
Right.
And similarly, I reached out and I got to figure out that US CMA is something I should be looking at doing. Even though I'm coming from the sales background, a financial acumen is important for each and every profile, be it an HR or an IT or so on and so forth. So I thought that for a sales professional, I understand the sales numbers, etc., but to have an overall understanding of the financials would be very beneficial, and that would give me the edge in the market, right? And for sales professionals, there were not many qualifications or chartered bodies in India who give you that kind of recognition as well. So US CMA is something that I got sold on because there were 2 papers. But once I started, I realized that these are all international qualification, and the way I had, and probably most of the Indian students, they have studied and grown up. That last 2 weeks you study and then you can just pass the exam. It's not how you work for these international qualification.
Right.
So I started with that mindset, and after 2 weeks I realized that's not the right approach. You have to have a systematic approach, because in these qualifications they test you on the ability to provide solution and not memorize. That's the major difference. So the ability and all the training that I did, it actually eventually helped me to get prepared and study for 2 years and be job ready. That's how the training had happened. And after that was done, when I joined my first job, I didn't have any challenge in entity data, because I was already job ready during my training. I had access to solving questions on computer, Excel, then how to have strategic thinking, scenario based questions. So that's just the real life that you get and you put it in the exam, right? So I was all used to that. So from day one, I was very comfortable with the tools that they had, and I started performing from the very first day. So it's been very enriching journey for me after doing CMA.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that the part where you mentioned how finance helps professionals in all profiles.
Right.
A lot of candidates have this crude understanding that okay, HR the work is different, for finance the work is different, for sales and marketing maybe the numbers are not that relevant. But thanks for highlighting that. I'll even share my maybe bit of
Sure.
experience on this. The number of candidates I've observed who are doing exceptionally well, one pattern I've seen very closely is that they have expertise in at least two skill set. Even if I talk about me, one skill set I built was expertise in finance, but second thing is being a great communicator. So that helped me become a very good teacher. Second thing I observed, if people are good with sales and marketing and then finance, I think you are an apt example to plug in over here. People who got into HR, when I was in KPMG, our HR director had financial certifications. And when I had a word with him, he said that Aditya, bas naam ke liye it's HR. What I do is present numbers on how we are doing in terms of
Right,
cost analysis per hour cost basis. I'm like, okay, this is so insightful, but I'm just so glad that this came up and people will have better understanding of this now. Another interesting thing I observed was during your time at ACCA is when you pursued CMA certification. So what led you to choosing CMA over ACCA itself?
So they provide exemptions, and because of my BCom, I was getting 4 papers. So I saw that I still have to write 9 papers. There are 13 papers. So, and here, like I said, seeing CMA 2 papers versus 9 papers that I need to write, a common understanding is let's do this.
Okay.
But the beauty that I felt and I feel that this is very competitive is because they have condensed all the topics in 2 parts. So in the examination, you'd never know on what topic the question comes from when the computer throws those questions, right? So your mind is continuously thinking on all the topics. The similar manner how a CFO goes to the office and they have these questions and problems coming in. It could be an internal control problem or a ethics problem or a risk management problem. Same way in the examination in CMA, they test you in that manner, right? So to get 72% out of that in that kind of environment, you know, in 3 hours you get the 50% correct. So there are a lot of dynamics at play. It's just not that if you're good at studies, you'll clear the exam. No, I personally feel US CMA is a temperament examination. How well you can see and make the best out of the 3 hours that you have. Which are the questions you should answer first, get in 15-30 seconds, get those answers right, build that confidence, and then spend time on the bigger questions because the weightage is all the same. So this is where I think that, you know, your temperament is very important, and how students fare. And a lot of students make or break, I think, during the exam is because of this reason, that they spend time on questions that are difficult. They get panicked. They spend more than 5-10 minutes and then they don't get the answers and they keep at it. So how you manage the exam? So that way, I think it's very in tune to how a professional works in the job, day-to-day job. So it really helped me in getting that training done.
True. In terms of temperament, it takes me back to a very interesting thing that happened. I was appearing for exam of a different institute.
Okay.
And luckily, they also have 100 questions. Luckily, I have this habit of starting randomly in between. My birth date is 20th April, so I start from question number 20. That was my mindset back then. No rational answer. So I went from 20 to 100 and then I came back to question number 1. And when I went through question number 1 to 10, I was completely puzzled because they were so difficult questions. It was really challenging, and I then started thinking from others' perspective that if someone had started from question 1 to 10, by 10 their confidence would be dead. That I'm not going to pass this exam.
Yeah.
This is quite challenging, and even for rest of the paper, even if they know, they would get into self-doubt. So truly, I could double down on what you said, that it's a time where temperament is also tested in this 3 to 4 hours. Okay, amazing. Coming to your CMA journey now, did you join any coaching? Was it self-study, and how was your study schedule, study pattern?
So I did coaching at couple of institutes.
Couple or more than one?
Yeah, because I started with part 2 first, and then after I wrote part 2, and that was my first professional exam I wrote. Okay. So after my exam got over, I wasn't sure whether I am going to get through or I have to, rewrite. So I was taking my time that I would not start with part 1 until the results come out. I'm not sure whether I have to repeat this or not. So I took that 2 months gap. And by the time the results came out, I cleared. So I was very happy. That was my first professional exam and I cleared it, not coming from a finance background as well. So after that, the batch that was supposed to start for part 1, it had already started.
Oh.
So I had to move to another institute to do my part 1. But thankfully, I had the Hock material to support me during the end. The material is so elaborative, at the same time very easy to understand for a layman. So even not coming from a finance background, the terminologies, etc., it was very easy for me to study through that. And that's how I had my confidence. And I saw a lot of Brian's videos as well at that point in time. And when I actually got the chance to meet with him, I was like awestruck that, this is the person I studied from and now he's in front of me. So yeah, it was a very good experience for me.
That's amazing. The part where you mentioned that opting for more than one classes, I've seen this a lot, and there are students who are coming now. There are 3 classes from where I'm having maximum
Okay.
transition of students. And when I went back to one of the students, I asked, like, it's a double the expense for you. What led you to invest in me? And I got an answer which even I couldn't have drafted. The person said, "Sir, passing is one thing, but passing with XYZ person or institute where additional support is promised, someone who's there to just take care of your small things, means a lot. Passing is just not enough because the journey starts, not ends with CMA."
Correct.
And then I can go back to, whenever students are approaching me and then they ask me why you or why Hock, we are going ahead and beyond, like above and beyond in terms of alumni support, additional
Yes.
engagement, placement assistance. So that kind of reassures, okay, students might have to, if they think that that support is missing somewhere, they might consider investing, which is a good point. Actually, it takes you ahead. Awesome. After ACCA, coming to your shift from educational field to corporate.
Yeah.
What made you shift? Were you like, nahi, kuch corporate bhi seekhna hai? Was there something missing in educational field?
So it just happened. Honestly, I'll tell you, I did not plan, but for all these years, that thought process was pented up inside me that, if I would have done finance, I would have done good, so on and so forth. But because my journey started in sales, I never got the chance to get back. After doing this, because I had that on my resume, I got the opportunity to work here. And then I decided that why not? If they are willing to take that chance upon me because of the qualification, the credentials, the knowledge that I've gained after doing US CMA, why not give it a shot? And I had wonderful 2 years. I didn't have any issues whatsoever. But at the same time, I realized that my core has been, I've been a sales guy, right? This skill set was very helpful because now when I talk to students or the senior leaders, right, I can talk their language. I have been a student, so I know the challenges student might face during their CMA journey. I have worked in professionals in FP&A profile and so on and so forth, creating budgets, reporting and all of that. So when I talk to a CFO, I can tell him exactly what skill set that I can bring to the table or a CMA qualified can get to the table in the technical terms. So that has helped me to have those in-depth understanding and talks with these folks. So that has only been possible because I did the qualification, happened to work. So I felt that the role at Hock is absolutely tailor-made for me, and it came at the right time, and it all fell at the right place. And I have a wonderful team, wonderful leader as well. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Now this brings me to next question, which is tailor-made again for you. I
Okay.
think you are the only person who can answer this. So in our podcast with Sri Vidya, I highlighted something that Brian has amazing understanding of Indian market.
Yeah.
Given that you are a CMA, you're part of his team, it is obvious you'll be interacting with him on a
Yes.
regular basis. What is your experience in terms of interaction with him? What is his perspective on CMA versus your perspective on CMA? Are there any overlapping points, or is it completely different in US, or are there any similarities in what he mentions about CMA program at his country versus India?
See, the major difference that he highlighted and what I could understand is that in the US, CMA is pursued by people who are in the mid-level of their career, right? So 25, 28 years is when people look forward for a professional qualification. That is when they go for CMA. Vis-a-vis in India, we try to, and we start from very beginning, right, to get the qualification, and also the acumen and the interest of Indian students you cannot compare globally, you know. So they are really smart, and they are able to write the exams when they are 18, 19, 20, 21 years of that period, right? So that was a big shift that I saw in the mindset in the US that they have, and in India. Coming to the mindset that Brian has, his focus has always been very simple. He's very humble, very simple. Focus is that I want to help the student to pass the exam. That's his motive, right? And for that, he goes above and beyond to provide more than what a content partner is expected, right?
Yes.
So if what Shri had mentioned earlier in your discussion, that we provide alumni support, right? We provide students with counseling in terms of what they should be studying, how they should be studying, have these webinars, orientation sessions for the student. Then at the same time, we have a dedicated helpline for students to write, and we all are very approachable. They can send us an email, and our turnaround time is really good. We can vouch for that our turnaround time is impeccable, and it's very difficult to match that, because we have dedicated team, and our priority is that whatever response comes within 24 hours, that response has to be replied back. So even when the India office is closed, Brian himself gets down and he does that reply. Which leader does that, right? So that humility starts from the very top, and that's how it has gone down the entire DNA of the organization as well.
I've personally had this experience. Once my own Hock LMS access was cancelled, and I had written an email in the night. By morning time, the access was up and running, and I got a response from Brian himself saying
Wonderful.
that there was a set timeline which got expired, but we have renewed it. So yeah, I could vouch for what you are saying. And during this, let's say, conversation, one point that shows up repeatedly is placement assistance in India. Now I know that in US and UK, it doesn't work the way we do in India. Like, though it be B schools or certification institutes, they host campus placements or those kind of programs. Coming to ours end, a lot of students approach me asking for what IMA is doing or what Hock International is doing for support on that end. So would you like to shed some light on this topic as well?
See, I would start with that IMA is doing excellent work. They have a career portal where global jobs are posted. Students are free to apply and get that thing rolling. So they are doing excellent work. But then the body itself cannot do a lot of things, right? It has to be hand in hand. So we, as strategic partners of IMA, we also help. We have our own alumni network on LinkedIn where we support our students who are studying to get access to the jobs that the CFOs and all the HR leaders reach out to us, and they post jobs with us. So we have that access for our students. But at the same time, it is also expected that there are a lot of other skill sets that the employers expect from the student. Say, for example, you have the knowledge, right? But as a finance professional, gone are the days that you are just a person crunching numbers in the back, right?
Yes.
It's all about coming in the front now, and you have to interact with your stakeholders, be it internal or external, right? How would you do that? Unless you communicate your ideas, right? And you are not able to express your thoughts, even if it's numbers, you have to tell them in a story, because numbers are boring otherwise, unless you put it in a story. So this is a very key skill that the recent CFO roundtables that we had conducted, this was the basic challenge that CFOs had said, that people were not able to articulate what they had in their mind, and or probably the numbers and thought process. That is one. Second is that they need to be welcoming to take additional tasks, be curious, and at the same time network. Networking is important for you to make a career switch, at the same time grow in the organization, because tomorrow leaders, and believe you me, we would not want a leader who's quiet, right?
Yes.
You want a leader who can motivate you, who can inspire you, right? So a leader has to be a very good orator. So that is a very important skill set. You'll see a lot of people who are very good at their job, but they cannot express themselves. chances are that they would be promoted to a certain level. They cannot reach at the top, because that is a key skill set that comes in where you're able to articulate. So people have to work on articulation, let go of the inhibitions, and then just present your thoughts and mind. That is what I think there's the CFO said that was missing, and people should work on that.
I could completely resonate on this point. I'll just give feedback on both the last question and this question, because I
Okay.
have a connecting point over here. One of the interesting things that I have observed at FinStreet is majority of our student base is working professionals, 70% till date. And when I looked back, when I was starting this class, I had studied some of my competitors, and I observed that majority of the competitors had students as their usual audience who's learning or pursuing CMA. And I got really curious on why this shift has happened. Like, why do I have majority working professionals and others have students more? And one thing that I observed was the classes that I started teaching CMA. I'll take example of a big, prep provider in Pune itself. I was part of their launch event. I met their founder. We had a dinner, a lot of discussion when they were starting. They started before FinStreet. So the founder reached out to me saying that, Aditya, I need your assistance in how to get placement cell up and running and how placements
Okay.
actually work. And I was again very curious. Like, the person was running CA, like Indian courses, for last 5, 10, 15 years, and is placement so distorted? When I closely started reading, or rather understanding their learning model, I understood majority of the students join them somewhere around 11, 12, and then it becomes an extension of BCom as going towards certifications. Now there were other small units who were starting from certifications, and their extension was more towards corporate and placements. So I saw that one strategic shift where a student coming in from, let's say, 11th, 12th with BCom and certification, they were struggling when it comes to making a CV, getting placements, articulating their answers in an interview, as you were saying. And on the other hand, those who had better exposure of peers who are professionals around them, or maybe add-on support, which I think Hock is working on currently. I recently discussed with Brian on this. We both are working on the solution of, we call it campus to corporate at FinStreet, and something similar even Brian is working on. So when it comes to additional support, I think students will be able to reach that point quicker as compared to the other side. But I could completely resonate with what you're saying. Okay, coming to our last question for the day. Addressing all CMA aspirants who are pursuing this program, any word of advice from you?
CMA is just the beginning, right? It's a great qualification. It would help you to get to the right organizations. You can name Amazon, Capgemini, Wipro, Infosys, Indian MNCs, all the organizations. US CMA would help you to get a job. Jobs which you are, if your thought process is to become a strategic leader in the future, right? This is the qualification you should aim at. FinStreet has been providing excellent results, and we can vouch for that because we see the results, and the growth of the numbers that they have is exponential, and he's doing excellent work. He has an excellent team, and we are proud to be associated with FinStreet as well. So I would recommend that. The qualification is great, the teacher is great. It's just that you are on your way towards the greatness. So it's just that, just follow the guidance and all the tips and tricks that we were talking about today. Apart from these qualifications, the other skill sets that we were discussing, if you are able to hone those over the period, it would not happen overnight. But as you practice, forget your inhibitions, network, because now the dynamics of recruitment has also changed. It is more on networking skills. Whom do you know? Because if there's a job posting happening, 2,000 applications come in, probably you're the right candidate. Your resume would not get shortlisted as well because they've already got the candidate. Yeah. But if you know through LinkedIn, the CFO or the hiring manager, you reach out, have a rapport, send your resume through that, chances are that your resume will be looked at, and then how you perform on the interview is up to you. But the dynamics have changed, so you cannot just wait for going through a portal and apply, and going to the website and apply. So these are all other skill set that you need to develop upon, and you have the right person to teach you these qualities. And all the best to all of you.
Thank you so much for such kind feedback and kind words. With this, we come to end of our podcast. If you have any questions, queries, or if you have suggestion around who should be our next guest, what should be our next topic, do mention it in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As usual, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.